Welcome back to Connect the Dots, the podcast for marketing and sales professionals who want to transform their business strategies into profitable growth today. I'm your host, Vicky O'Neill. This is a big episode. It's number 50. I can't believe I'm already halfway to triple digits and almost to the 1 year anniversary of the podcast. So thank you for continuing to listen, your support, and helping me achieve this podcast milestone. Okay, this week is another epic episode. I had a great conversation, as you will hear, with my guest this week, Anita Toth. Anita is a consultant to growing B2B SaaS companies and is a chief churn crusher. Our conversation went from knowing who your ideal customer is and why it's important, to how to minimize churn, to increase revenue and profitability, as well as knowing the reasons why customers leave and how that can help your marketing and sales efforts. If any of those are of interest to you, you will absolutely love this episode. But listen to the end and find out about a couple of resources Anita has available and where you can find them. Okay? All right, let's get started with Anita. Hey, Anita, thank you so much for joining me today on Connect the Dots. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Vicky. Happy to be here.
Awesome. I'm glad that you could join me today. I know that we had a pre-call and had an amazing conversation that we've said, hey, let's stop the conversation so we can keep the energy going and we can record it. So I'm so excited for this conversation today.
Yeah, me too. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a lot of fun, and I hope your audience will get a lot out of it because that's always my goal. Some key takeaways that you can implement right away in your business.
I have zero doubt that you will be able to do that today. So for our listeners, if you could do a quick intro, who you are and what you do.
Sure. My name's Anita Toth. I call myself the Chief Churn Crusher. So if you don't know what churn is, it's when customers leave your business. So people who have churned are customers who have left your business. And if you're mostly focusing on marketing, a lot of businesses don't really focus so much on what churn is and how to stop it. But the biggest impact churn has is on the profitability of your business. So if you want to increase your profits, what you want to do is end up keeping your customers longer and trying to slow down that churn rate. And that's what I help businesses do.
Oh, that's awesome. And I know that most people probably know this. I know that you know this, is that it costs less to keep an existing customer than it does to acquire a new customer.
Actually, 6 to 7 times more to acquire a new one. That's a lot.
Yes, that's a lot. So when you think of your marketing efforts and that whole follow through with the sales and customer service and that entire customer journey and just the process behind the scenes too, how important that is to like acquire and then keep customers so you can avoid that higher cost of replacing them.
Absolutely. The other thing is that people don't think of when you have a customer already is that you can then expand your revenue with them. So sell them extra services, extra products, upsell them, get referrals from them. Like it's more than just, oh, great, I just kept this customer and that's it. No, the opportunity to expand your revenue just with the customers you already have is huge. And so many businesses just don't realize it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think what you do is key. And what you had said earlier is that a lot of people tend to forget about that because it's kind of like an after the fact. We've done the marketing, we've done the sales, they're a customer service is working their magic to keep them on board, but not really paying too much attention to that last piece, which is, it's not the most critical, but it's as critical as the marketing and sales part of the entire process. So yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. And I was just going to say, like, the thing with churn is that it's not sexy. Okay, let's call it what it is. Nobody wants to look and see why a whole bunch of customers left. It's more exciting to look at your leads and your conversions and all of that. It's tactical, it's exciting. So it's easy to just want to turn your eye and just go, oh yeah, customers are leaving, nothing. This is my favorite. Nothing we can do about it. And it's like, yes, you can. And you can actually do a lot to prevent them from leaving.
Yeah. So how do you work with customers then to either identify the problem so it doesn't happen, or how do you help them like mitigate the churn process?
So what I do always, it's custom work. I go into each business that I'm working with. So these are my clients. So you'll hear me interchangeably call them clients and customers. But what I do is, first of all, I go through the experience of being a customer of theirs. I want to see the entire process from signing up and going through. Let's see what these people are experiencing. And more often than not, right off the bat, I will hit a big stumbling block, which we address, we look at and say, okay, what can be changed? How can we increase the conversion rate of people who, and it's often what happens is people want to onboard, they want to experience good things, but they hit that first stumbling block. And a lot of people are like, oh, I'm just not going any further. This is too hard. It's too frustrating. So it's often right there in that onboarding process, we will hit a number of stumbling blocks. And then further down, we kind of go through the entire process of what is customer support like for them, and also looking at how they're reporting their metrics. So again, this is not really fun stuff per se, but it is so critical because it's showing opportunities where you can increase customer retention and also increase revenue, which is the biggest thing. So my two biggest stories with my clients that like woohoo got me so excited. For one of them, he has a SaaS product, so software as a service. If you don't know what that is, think your Netflix, where you're paying a monthly fee for a service. And he has a whole bunch of users that they were early to adopt when they first launched. So they have been paying, are you ready for this, Vicky? For years now, 1/10 of what everybody else is paying.
Oh my
Oh
gosh.
yeah.
Because they were an early
Huge.
adopter. So they got in early. Yeah.
They got in early and they just kept grandfathering him and grandfathering them with each, time they released big feature upgrades. There's more value to their app. And it's now for November of this year, they're actually going to be doing a major new release. And so I'm helping them with their marketing sequence to bring all of those legacy users up to today's rate. And then what we're going to do, lock them in at this rate, whereas in November, everybody else's rates will go up. And so we're not quite sure how big this pot of money is, but it's going to be substantial. And then the other thing it does is it's not only an immediate injection of cash. The other thing is now their monthly recurring revenue has gone up as well, because those people are not paying 1/10 of the amount they should be paying. So it's really exciting stuff like that, where, they know that often my clients know that these things exist, but they never really quite see the opportunity as to what they can do with it. So that's what I come in. They're so busy building the business and giving great service that I come in and I spot those opportunities and can help them then, like I said, either recover money or expand their monthly revenue so that their profits can increase.
I think you have a really cool and unique approach too, where you actually go through the process as one of their customers in order to go in and be able to say, here's why we need to make this change, whether it's in the marketing, whether it's in the click-through process, or whether it's in the sales, finalizing the sales online, or however that process works. And that's awesome, because you have that first person experience then going into it and saying, here's why you need to hire me.
Yeah. And the great thing about it is I'm not using their product beforehand. So I am just exactly like their brand new customers who are experiencing this for the first time. And it can be really frustrating. So another story, I like telling stories because they really bring things together. I went through with one company and tried to sign in. So this was actually a Google Chrome extension that they have built. But first of all, you needed to sign up so that it could send the information to their platform. Okay. And then you really use the platform to do what you needed to do. So I go and it looks like a simple, like 30-second sign up. And I go to sign up and it hangs on step number 2, like spin, the spinning wheel. Like,
Yeah.
okay, is this going to do something? Is it
Yeah.
not? I have no idea. So I get back out. I try it again. I try it again. I try it again. I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So finally, there's a little chat window. So I reach out to support. He and I are back and forth on support. Then he calls me because he had asked for my phone number, 40 minutes in total to figure out that the app itself, when you were onboarding, wouldn't work for people like me because I have multiple Gmail accounts.
Yeah.
Now, when I let my client know this, that it took 40 minutes, you think of how much time in customer support, how much that customer support rep could not help somebody else who needed helping. Like, you just go through and do the numbers, and that is like one expensive way to onboard one customer. And when I told him this, he just about flipped his lid because that problem was supposed to have been addressed 2 years earlier. So they
Oh
weren't
my
even
gosh.
knowing how many people tried to sign up and left. They had no clue. It could have been in the hundreds. It could have been in the thousands when you add over a 2-year period. And it's because I came and tried to sign up, and I was one of those unique situations, which they do have many people who have that same situation. So they took their development team some time, and then they fixed it all up, and now it actually works. So, but we're, like, you don't know what you don't know. And that's why you can bring someone like myself in to say, hey, this is what I experienced. If I'm experiencing it, I know your customers are likely experiencing it too. And how about we look at this as an opportunity to make things better? And so that's what I end up doing with my clients.
And what an opportunity for them too. I can't believe that they allowed 2 years to go by
He
to
didn't
not have
know.
the problem fixed. It's like,
He was,
what?
I know, but he was told it was fixed.
Oh, yeah, that's
And
not good.
no, and nobody. So bear in mind, this is, again, what I do is I also help with information flow to make sure data is getting to the right people. Customer support was logging these calls, but it was never going up the chain to him as the founder and CEO. So he just assumed it was fine. We now have systems in place so that he knows what the key problems are for people who are customers, and then also people who are in the trial phase or trying to get into the trial phase.
And going through that process and then actually bringing it to their attention is what ultimately landed them as a client of yours to go in and actually fix the problem.
Absolutely.
Yay.
Absolutely. Yeah. It was really exciting, but even for him too, right? Because they're so busy. We all do it. Like, that's why you have editors when you're writing a really big blog article that you want to go far, writing a book. Like, you get sort of blind to what is there. So you
Mhm.
need someone to come in and point out those areas that you just no longer can see.
Yeah, and it's that outside perspective a lot of times that helps pinpoint a problem that probably should have been obvious, but just wasn't because they're so ingrained in their business. And if they're a smaller business, they're probably wearing multiple hats too, and therefore can't really focus on all of the aspects of the business or have resources to do that either.
Yeah, you've got it. So
Yeah.
it's a number of things. Like, the companies I deal with typically have between 5 and 20 people on their teams,
Mhm.
but everybody's they're still doing their own thing. And the problem is sharing the information across teams. So it's great that you're collecting this, but you're not sharing it with, sales or marketing, who could also very much benefit from the information you're gathering. And that's such a common problem as well. So you're either wearing multiple hats and just don't have the time, or even, maybe don't even know how to look, or it's the opposite, where you have teams in place, but the teams are not sharing the information.
Yes. And you'd mentioned it earlier with the flow of information between the teams, and with your focus being on churn and just kind of creating that streamlined process once you get in there. Is that something that as you're walking or working through it, do you bring like the marketing person, the sales person, do you get the necessary like touch point leaders involved in that process from beginning to end?
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely. And the reason is, again, people just, unless you make the link, people just don't realize, okay, customers left, nothing I can do about it.
Mhm.
If you can reach out to those customers who have left and interview them and find out why they left, then you can take that information and put it right back in your sales process and right back in your marketing. And what that ends up doing is lowering your customer acquisition costs. Because now, if they're not a good fit, and you're finding, gee, a lot of the people that we're attracting seem to be this type. I'll give you another example.
I love stories. Those are the best.
I know, I do too, because you know what? They help you cement some of
It
these
does.
ideas. So
Yeah.
I was just speaking with a young guy. He opened a gym, and they're about 10 months into operating their first year, and it's going fairly well. So I said to him, what type of customers are you attracting? And he said, oh, I have a lot of people who are only staying 4 months, and they're coming to the gym for, they're getting married, they've got some big event, and they want to look good for it. So I said to him, what you need to do is some sort of exit interview and find out more about them, more about their thinking, why they joined, or he could even do this at the beginning when they sign up, why they're joining, get some more information, because his ideal customers are the ones who are going to stay a year plus. So you think 4 months, every couple months, he is like turning over all of those customers. Like that's a huge amount of work to acquire new ones to replace the ones that have left, right?
Mhm.
So I said to him, start gathering the information, start interviewing the customers that you have that you want more of, because they are fundamentally and demographically different than the ones you're attracting. Then you take that information and you put it where? Into your marketing. Then you're attracting more of them in the sales process. You can start kind of using those types of that type of data to start asking the right questions to see whether they're a really good sales lead or are they not. So to have, and it doesn't seem obvious, again, if I'm going to be interviewing customers why they left, why would I need sales and marketing there? Because they then become much better informed about who is ideal, who they're actually attracting through the work they're doing. And
Mhm.
then for the sales part, it's more important for them to make sure that whatever they're promising, the value of the service or product actually exists.
Yeah.
Because some salespeople are so excited just on closing that deal that they'll either overpromise or they don't know enough about what the product does in terms of its value, not features, value to the customer.
Mhm.
And so we do. I'm just going to have a call with another client of mine. And I've specifically asked, please have your head of marketing at this meeting, because this is very, very clearly going to impact what they do moving forward.
Yeah, and you mentioned it too with identifying the ideal customer. Do you also incorporate that into your overall process, getting the different team members involved with creating the persona or personas to
Mhm.
help with reducing churn and marketing messaging and closing sales faster? Like, do you incorporate that into what you're doing?
I actually don't go through that specific process, but what we do is identify the different groups they should be looking at. So bear in mind, I mostly work with SaaS companies, but this can work for any business. Those active users or active customers who are engaging with your business, and that might be even through customer support calls, they're responding to emails. However you track engagement, you want to look at them. Then I help them figure out who are the ones at risk of churning, because those are the ones, so we call them inactive or at-risk customers, and
Mhm.
then obviously the ones that have churned.
Mhm.
So what I do is I help segment that way first, and then they will start seeing what the differences are between them, and kind of the customer persona
Yes.
kind of comes out from that. So again, I just speaking with one client last week, and he says to me, okay, we have enterprise and we have this whole big group that we always knew existed, but they didn't know how big it was and how lucrative it can be until we started talking about separating out the different groups. And so guess what? Brand new customer persona, marketing can take that, sales can take that. And you're right. Like it's building that so that they can start attracting more of those ideal customers.
Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people too also see that process as being so time consuming and just inundating them with so much information that they're not going to know what to do with it at that point. And there's so much you can do, just like with the churn data and just understanding why customers are leaving, is taking that information, identifying the gaps so that your marketing message and your content and who you're reaching out to, where you're reaching out. If you're trying to reach professionals on LinkedIn and you're spending all of your time on Facebook, I mean, it's just, that's the importance of needing to understand where your ideal customer, and that's just one small piece or one big piece of why it's important to know, or at least identify a segment or a customer persona so you can cater your messaging and develop all your content around that. And it's not just an exercise, it's to help drive higher quality leads. So I think a lot of people think that it's like fluff. I'm like, I don't need to do that. And it's like, well, you don't, but you're going to be spending a lot more time and effort and money on trying to hit the masses and get very few versus take some time up front and create your personas. And then when you go and you develop and you send your marketing messages out, you're going to be getting more of the type of customers that you want. Therefore, you're going to get more leads and more conversions and more sales. So it's kind of like taking a step backwards before you can take the step forward.
Yeah. And you've said it so beautifully. In the SaaS world where I live, it's all about CAC, customer acquisition cost.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of these SaaS companies, maybe they're only selling their product for $5 or $15 per month. So if it costs them 25 or 50 or 100 to acquire a customer that's only going to stay, like in the case of the gym owner that I spoke about, 4 months. Whoa, that's a lot of money. And Vicky, you so nailed it on the head. And that is, the more you can develop this ideal customer profile or persona, the cheaper your customer acquisition cost becomes.
Yes.
That is a direct, it's a direct link between it. Now I know, so like I talked about, even with him. So if he's putting in his marketing, let's go back to that example about the gym owner. Mm-hmm. If he's putting in his marketing about, look good for your wedding, or got a 25-year anniversary celebration, or whatever it is, well, guess who he's going to attract? He's going to attract those people who only want to stay for that short period of time, lose the weight, look good, and then whatever they do afterwards, they go off and do.
Yeah.
But he can only discover that by asking those people questions and finding out what their thinking is. Why did you come to my business specifically when you could have chosen, one of 25 other gyms in this area?
Right.
You want to know that information so that you can flip it right back into your marketing. And you really do. You want to repel those people you don't want, and you want to embrace those people that you do. So you got to find out what their problems are, what they're trying to solve. Like, what is their goal in coming to your business in the first place? What is it they're trying to achieve? And not just like, oh, I want to lose weight. Okay, yeah, that's great. Why do you want to lose weight? What will that do for your life if you lose weight? And you find then when you start digging into that deeper stuff, that's really what's going to get them to say yay or nay. And that's what you put in your marketing. So I get you. It doesn't seem great to sit down and try to, I'm going to create this customer persona. Get some people in and do it from the opposite end, where you interview them, find out, and then continue to, and it's a continuous process. You should always be working on those ideal customer profiles. Why? Because people change, markets change, the world changes. It's not a one and done. It should be an exciting process all the way through. And if you don't like doing it, I always say this: put your little detective cap on and be curious about it and look at it as, ooh, an investigative, what can I discover today exercise. If that's going to get you through to doing it, I'm all for it, 100%.
You just nailed it with like digging deeper to that like you have to get to that deeper level and then talk to those key emotions or those key triggers that ultimately are the reasons why people would choose to go to a gym. Because I I'm going to put 100% confidence behind these words and say that if somebody wants to lose weight, they don't want to do it temporarily. Like there might be a temporary solution, like, they're going on a cruise or they're getting married or they've got a reunion coming up or whatever. Yes, I get that. But do you really want to lose weight and then put it all back on? I'm going to say 100% people don't want to put it back on. So it's getting to those deeper emotions through the research. You can't see my hands, I don't think. So it's like I'm down here doing this. Just digging a little bit deeper to get to it. And that's ultimately where you're going to get the customers. And then to what you do, it's going to help with reducing churn. They're going to stay longer because now you have a vested interest in helping them with what their ultimate goal is, and that's to lead a healthier lifestyle.
Absolutely. The other thing it does, which is help the sales conversation.
Yes.
Right? Because now you know like what that deep down thing is, why they really want to do this.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're right. The sort of surface level might be, well, I want to lose weight. Then the next thing is, oh, I have this reunion I want to go to. But then underneath that is, well, people in my family don't live past 60. They tend to have a lot of heart attacks. And really, I don't want that to happen. But nobody is ever going to come out and just say that in the beginning, right? It takes time to get down there. But if you are noticing as a business owner, or if presuming you're doing your own sales calls, but if you have a sales team as well, speak to them. And there's patterns in what people are going to be responding. Well, if you know that your ideal customer typically has these 3 problems that they're looking to solve, then you can focus that sales conversation on probing those, because we make the decision based on pain. If the pain is bad enough, we'll be like, you know what? Here's my money. Please just solve this for me now. But if you're kind of vague and you're not sure why they're really coming and what is the real reason that they're coming to your business and hoping you can help them, then your sales conversations are not going to convert as well.
Yes.
So this information goes directly right into the sales and marketing process. And then not to mention product development or service development as well. Like that's a whole other thing. There might be issues there too, right? From your onboarding to like this one gentleman, another story. This one gentleman was telling me he's thinking of switching insurance companies, even though he's been with them for 25 years, because every year he has to fill out this form and fax it to them.
Oh, good Lord. That means
who I don't even know where to find a fax machine. I'm not even sure I would recognize one if I tripped over it, right? So I get, some industries still do, because secure reasons, email's not secure. I get all that. However, there are other ways to encrypt websites. If they're taking your credit card information, believe me, they can take that information too. And it's likely just checking to see that your address and all that information is the same. Mm-hmm. So he says, you know what? It is such a hassle, just that one thing. He loves the rest of the service, but they've put such friction in the process of renewing from year to year. He's like, screw it. I'm going to an online insurance company instead. So then in 2 minutes, I can just look over my information, click a button that says, yes, looks good, and charge my account, and off he goes. Mm-hmm. And it's things like that. Again, if you've been operating for a while in a certain way, you may not stop to think, how much friction is this causing for my customers? And, are they leaving because of it? Mm-hmm. Right?
It's all about that customer experience.
It is. And going forward, Vicky, the biggest thing that's going to differentiate businesses are the ones that give great customer experience and those that don't. Yeah. That's going to be it, because a lot of products and services are now converging. So they're not that different. There's nothing really new coming out. Like think about when Apple and then Microsoft came out, they were vastly different. Yeah. And over time, what's happened? There's not much difference between them now in terms of what they do. They can basically do the same thing, just on slightly different platforms. Mm-hmm. We're going to see the same thing. So if you want to keep your customer experience, that is what's going to help separate the okay or good businesses from the ones that do exceptionally well.
And then that's going to keep the customers from churning too, because ultimately they don't want to encounter a pain point in a process or a product or a service that they like. And they probably don't want to leave, but if you're making it difficult for them to renew or buy new or even stay, then, encountering that pain or that risk of going someplace else is probably worth it. So
Yeah.
it's like you had said early on, it's a constant evaluation of your process in order to make sure that with change, your processes and the way that you operate as a business is staying up with all of those changes. Because if it's not, you'll start to see it in the numbers. Like your customers will start to leave.
Yeah, you've got it. And there's one thing that we've got to mention here, which people, again, oh, well, some customers left, no big deal. Huge deal, because now with social media, word of mouth is huge. There's a reason why Amazon has all of those reviews on there. If I'm going to check out a product, I don't know what it is. I don't know who those people are who are reviewing. I have no clue. But I go through and I check out the 5-star, the 4-star, and the ones. I want to see what it is I'm purchasing. So if you're like, whatever, they left, nobody, I don't really care, I'll just get more customers to replace them. It's typically between 9 to 15 and really ticked off people up to 25 different people. They will tell about their experience. And if we're just using anonymous places like, it's not quite anonymous. You know what I mean? Your name's associated with your Amazon account, but places like that to get social proof to make decisions, that's huge.
Yeah.
Huge.
And you don't want that to show negative comments or any type of negative reviews, because that's the go-to place for most people to purchase items these days online.
You've got it. So people don't realize how big that is. Every churned customer potentially can stop X number of other customers from coming and checking out your business. And especially if you know that person and they're like, woof, I would never go to them. Well, if that's the case, then you don't even go to check them out. They might be a wonderful fit for you, but because you heard from so-and-so over here whom you trust that their experience was negative, likely you're not going to even consider that company.
Yeah, exactly. What is one thing about you or your company that you don't think your ideal customers know about you, but maybe they should?
I think the biggest thing is that I come with a sense of curiosity and opportunity. So that this is, even though this is really serious what we're talking about, because churn is directly affecting profits. And a lot of times the clients are coming to me because churn is a really big issue and they're struggling financially because of it. That is the whole thing that I want them to know. And I try to get it across that we're going to look at this as opportunity. This is not failure. This is not, doom and gloom, but this is huge opportunity to make a difference, not only in your bottom line, but also for that customer experience and make things better so that they want to stay. They want to refer, right? They're happy to give you their money and say, yes, please.
Yeah.
So I think that that's the biggest thing. And you and I are talking here, we've got a good rapport going. So, I feel like I can really kind of let that out, but they don't always see that until they become a client of mine. And then I feel like I can be much more open about it. Maybe this will come in time as I feel more comfortable and confident, but that's the biggest thing. This is a wonderful opportunity, despite what the numbers may look like and despite how negative it may appear.
Awesome. Well, where can people find you and connect with you online?
So 2 places. If you want to learn about churn, I have a Crush Your Churn guide. It's a mini guide that you can, I call it a quick guide that you can pick up and just learn about the 3 areas where you can right away start crushing churn. There's also a little quiz you can take to see how well you're doing. And the other place where you can see me is on LinkedIn. So I post there regularly and have a fairly decent following. So that is where, again, most of my customers are located. So you're going to find me there. So I think it's Anita M. Toth is how you find me directly on LinkedIn, or it's anitatoth.ca if you're wanting to check me out on the web.
Okay, great. And I'll include those links in the show notes too. So if there's anybody who can't go there directly now, they can go there and click and they'll access you directly.
Awesome.
Well, thank you so much, Anita, for being here with me today. This was an amazing conversation. I knew it would be. And I think there is so much information from this conversation that people can take away and start acting on immediately. And having that guide available to them as well is going to be another wonderful asset that they can use ASAP.
Yeah. And again, I think Vicky, the biggest thing is the mindset. If you can go into this and like, wow, I never thought of this, never looked at it. I'm so big at looking at acquiring customers. I never looked to see. That's okay. Start somewhere, start small, right?
Yes.
So the quick guide goes into a much larger guide, but that quick guide will just give you sort of 3 big areas to get some momentum going quickly so that you can then start putting this into practice. Because like we talked about with the ideal customer personas, it should always be ongoing. It's never just a one and done.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you just real quick. What are those 3 things that they can hit on real quick in the quick guide?
Yep. So the guide covers the 3 areas, and they are churned customers. So what you do with your churned customers, how to reach out to them, how to collect that data. The second is what's called involuntary churn. So involuntary churn is mostly around failed payments and how to recover money from failed payments. So between 20 to 40% of all churn is because of failed payments. So it's a huge opportunity that doesn't take a lot of work. So one of the quick ways to get it. And then the third is at-risk customers. So these are the ones that are at risk for churning. You want to focus and identify them, and the guide helps show you how to do that.
Okay, great. That helps tremendously. So thank you so much for doing that. And thank you so much for being here today. I greatly appreciate it. And this was an awesome conversation. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks so much, Vicky.
There are 3 actions that you can take right now from this conversation with Anita. 1, you can go to our website and take the Churn Crusher quiz. Number 2, download the Crush Churn quick guide. And number 3, connect with Anita on LinkedIn. All links are accessible via the show notes at vickyo'neill.com/50. Also, if you like this episode or the podcast, go out and subscribe to it. Open your favorite app for listening to podcasts and search Connect the Dots Vicky, V-I-C-K-I, click the image, then hit subscribe. If you need marketing expertise on a project but just don't have the time or existing resources, you can actually book my time for a day. Go to vickyo'neill.com and click the Book Me for a Day button in the top right corner for details. Many thanks again to Anita for joining me on number 50 of Connect the Dots. And thank you again for choosing to listen to Connect the Dots. Until next time, I'm Vicky O'Neill. Make today great.